So we begin in Libya, where Al Jazeera has been told that the foreign minister has been dismissed for meeting with her Israeli opposition number last week. The decision comes after a night of protests across the capital, Tripoli, and several other Libyan cities. Demonstrators burned Israeli flags and demanded that Najla al-Mangoush be dismissed. The Israeli Foreign Minister, Cohen, described talks with her in Italy last week as a historic first step in establishing ties. But after those protests, Libya's foreign ministry attempted to downplay the meeting, describing it as non-official. Unauthorized discussions with Israeli officials are illegal in Libya. The countries have had no formal relations since the country gained independence from Italy in 1951. Well, in a minute, we'll speak to Harry Fawcett, who's in West Jerusalem. But first, let's go to Malik, Traina, who's standing by for us in Tripoli. So, Malik, what is the latest you have for us?
Well, sources close to Prime Minister Abdul Hamid Dbeibah has told us that Najla al-Mangoush, Libya's first female foreign minister, has been sacked as a result of this meeting. They told us that the Prime Minister wasn't aware of Najla al-Mangoush's actions at her meeting, from what the Libyan Foreign Ministry said, her informal meeting with Cohen, the Israeli foreign minister, in Rome last week. But people here, were extremely upset and are still extremely upset. Last night, we saw protesters closing off main roads across all of Western Libya. We also saw a group of protesters breaching the Libyan foreign minister's gates briefly last night. And due to that, there was some serious security concerns. Government sources have told us that Najla al-Mangoush left Tripoli last night and has arrived in Istanbul, although we haven't seen an official statement yet from the foreign ministry. Just about 20 or 30 minutes ago, we saw a statement by the employees of the foreign ministry here in Libya condemning the actions of Najla al-Mangoush, saying that this isn't in sync with the Libyan foreign policy. We're still going to have to wait and see as to what this investigation. There isn't an ongoing investigation into this meeting, so we're going to have to wait for more information that comes out.
All right, that's a view in Tripoli. Thanks to Malik, Traina there. Let's head over to West Jerusalem now. Harry Fawcett is standing by. So, Harry, Israel saying something quite different about the circumstances of this meeting to Tripoli.
Entirely different, yes. We spoke to a foreign ministry official who said that this was entirely a coordinated meeting. It was one that featured direct talks. And if you look at the statement from the foreign ministry, from Cohen on Sunday, it talks about the kind of content of these discussions, about agricultural cooperation, water technology, restoring Jewish sites inside Libya. He called this a historic meeting and a first step, putting it in the context of wider efforts of normalization with other Arab nations as well. So entirely a different narrative. Also different when it comes to the announcement itself. The foreign ministry official saying that the idea of announcing this meeting was also coordinated, although how far you could really say it's coordinated is questionable, given the fact that this official also said the timing of that announcement had not been coordinated, and certainly the reaction from the Libyan side suggests that they were very much caught unawares by this sudden announcement on Sunday, and that itself has got a lot of criticism and backlash from the Israeli opposition here. The leader of the opposition, former foreign minister himself, former Prime Minister Yair Lapid, saying that this was amateurish, that it puts in question Israel's negotiations with other countries who would be pretty dismayed to see this kind of what he called a leak. And he also said that this was a morning of national disgrace for the country when someone's life had been endangered, presumably a reference to the Libyan foreign minister, in reward just for a headline on the day.
Harry, thanks for that. Harry Fawcett there in West Jerusalem. Well, Libya is divided between two rival administrations. There's a UN-recognised government in Tripoli, which is led by Abdul Hamid al-Dbeibah, where the scandal over the contacts with Israel is happening. But there's also a rival administration in Tobruk that's backed by the United Arab Emirates. It's also had contacts with Israel, but that has not generated nearly as much controversy. The son of the Libyan warlord, Khalifa Haftar, visited Tel Aviv last year for talks with senior Israelis. Earlier, I spoke with Anas El-Gamati. He's the founder and director of Sadak Institute, the first public policy think tank in Libya. He says news of the unofficial meeting is at odds with what's been going on behind the scenes.
Obviously, a major difference between the official interactions or even the discrete interactions that you've mentioned there and the divide between the public perception. I mean, the streets kind of made itself clear last night with the protests in front of the foreign ministry, protesters entering the home of Hamid Dbeibah late last night. And it's this kind of public dissonance, this big gap between what the Libyan state officials and non-state officials like Haftar say they do versus what they actually do. And I think that was part of the reason why it struck such a nerve last night, because the way in which the news was revealed, the fact that it was revealed a week later by Israel's foreign minister and not by Libya's foreign minister, has kind of led to this public outcry. And I think it was the frustration that it really caused was what sparked so many different protests last night.
What is the official position of making contact with Israel?
Libya does not recognize Israel. And I think the official position has been something that even when we go to leaks that have taken place over meetings between Libyan officials like Hamid Dbeibah and William Burns, the head of the CIA, who broached this conversation last year in meetings, or this year rather, in meetings in January, the position from Dbeibah quietly was, we can talk about normalization, but I'm worried about the public outcry. And I think he knows that Libya's official position is one that is very closely attached to the street, but it's not just that the street is against what it deems to be Israeli interference. I mean, we've seen this story kind of come to the surface over the last several years. Khalifa Haftar has extensive military relationships, was backed by Israel in the last war on Tripoli in 2019. His son was in Tel Aviv for 90 minutes, according to Haaretz, on a private jet where he requested military support and diplomatic support in exchange for being made the president of Libya. Unusually, he didn't actually throw his hat into presidential elections, so how he would have taken power was one of those curious kind of facts that was always left to the final moment. But I think, again, Libya's official position is one thing, but it's that dissonance with the street that has allowed for people to go out and say, look, enough is enough.
Let's get a view from Israel now. Alon Pinkas is a former Israeli diplomat, and he served as an advisor to the former Israeli Prime Minister Shimon Peres. Joins us now from Tel Aviv. Mr. Pinkas, first up, what's your view of this meeting that's caused riots in Libya, while in Israel it's hailed as a first step in establishing relations?
Well, to be honest, Nick, it's hailed in Israel as a complete faux pas, as a complete mess up. As a foreign minister who ran to tell everyone about his conquests rather than keep it discreetly. And I have to tell you, if you look at the sequence of events, this is just like, a remake of the old movie or the Jimmy Breslin movie, The Gang That Couldn't Shoot Straight. Everything about this was wrong. It's really a shame, because if there is some kind of, if there are some kind of understandings, if there is a platform on which some kind of dialogue could be built, it was ruined for the foreseeable future, with the Israeli foreign minister blabbering about it, and reportedly, at least, the Libyan foreign minister fleeing her country to Turkey.
There must be. You'd think there must be some kind of calculation behind this, as far as the foreign minister is concerned. What would he think in his mind that he would have to gain, or Israel would have to gain, from talking about the meeting in this way?
Okay, well, it was totally premature, as I mentioned before. But this underscores, Nick, a larger concept, which I happen to think is deeply flawed in right-wing Israeli thinking, and that is that you can ignore, evade, avoid, circumvent the Palestinian issue while making gains or gaining traction or even recognition throughout the Arab world. Libya, the UAE, Qatar, Jordan and Egypt, obviously, and conceivably even Saudi Arabia. Now, that's all good and fine. But the thing is, doing it and then bragging about it prematurely undermines even this concept, which again I think is flawed and deficient.
So a kind of smokescreen in a sense.
Well, yeah, it could be a smokescreen that that Israel is making strides, and here we are hypothetically negotiating with the Saudis in a grand triangular or tripartite deal with the U.S. And parallel to that, doing things with the Libyans. And okay, let's assume that is true. Let's assume, forget my reservations about the concept or the conceptual framework here. Let's assume this is good. So why go out and talk about this? Why the hell would you, excuse the expression, why would you go out and brag about this prematurely and basically ruin and undermine your own doing?
The thing is, there have also been visits from the government in Tobruk, haven't there? So the Israeli officials have been meeting two sides of the government in Libya. And it makes you wonder what actual relationship there is behind the scenes that we don't really know about or isn't public anyway, between Libya and Israel.
Well, okay. I doubt, Nick, that any of our viewers right now recall that in the 1990s, in the mid-1990s, in the aftermath of the Oslo Accords of September 93, and then the implementation of 94 and 1995, there were initial contacts between Israel and Libya still under Muammar Gaddafi, Colonel Gaddafi. And that never matured into anything. And then a few years back, as the previous, my immediate previous guest told you, there was some Israeli presence and Israeli involvement in the ongoing political strife and civil war in Libya. I doubt there's anything more than that. I very much doubt there's anything more than that at this point, at least.
It's odd, isn't it? Because these meetings that the rival administration from Tobruk have had have not generated nearly as much controversy.
Well, no, because for the mere fact that the foreign minister, Ms. Mangoush, had to flee, again, reportedly, had to flee Tripoli and go with in a private airplane to Turkey for fear of her life. She, by the way, according to reports in Israel in the last hour, she just said that the meeting she had with the Israeli foreign minister, Mr. Eli Cohen, was coordinated, that her prime minister knew about this, that in fact he coordinated the entire thing with the Italian prime minister, Ms. Meloni, and the fact that it was prematurely leaked by Israel embarrassed him and led to the demonstrations and eventually impelled her to flee Tripoli altogether. I don't know how accurate that is. I have no way of objectively judging that information.
Okay. Great to get your perspective, Alain. Appreciate that. Thanks very much, Alain Pinkas, former Israeli diplomat, speaking to us from Tel Aviv.
Thank you.